This is part 74 of my series on my Engage Model Railway project. Previous parts cover the project from its inception through the creation of the baseboard, selection and laying of track, building of scenic items, obtaining rolling stock, etc. The project is ongoing. This part deals with 3 additional Pullman coaches which I bought as a job lot on eBay UK. I did have a couple of Pullman coaches that I'd picked up previously, but I had some difficulty finding them at a decent price, so when these 3 popped up on eBay UK for a fairly reasonable ask, I decided to take them. And this is how they arrived. Well, they were in a strong cardboard box wrapped in Kleenex, tissue paper and newspaper, but I didn't see any point in showing you that. The top one is a Lima model. The bottom 2 don't appear to be marked, but I think they're Graham Farish. The eBay listing did specify that one of the coaches was missing its glazing on one side, the middle one. Perhaps not so easy to see here, but those windows are just blank with no transparent fill in them. The listing didn't mention that that coach also had a broken coupling and a broken bogie on one end. So the first order of the day was to get that coach on the bench and try to repair it. Here you can see more clearly, hopefully, how the glazing was missing on one side. And here's the bogie with the broken coupling. These were not the newer style sprung couplings, but rather the older style that just had a bendy bit in the middle of the coupling itself. Here's more of a close-up. You can see that the coupling is completely broken off, leaving only a small shank. Also, you can now see that there's a break in the frame of the bogie itself on the side of the end towards you. I removed the bogie from the coach, which with this type is just done by pulling out the pivot pin, which was quite stiff in this case, which is a good thing really, since you don't want it to work loose and fall out. You can see the broken coupling and the broken frame quite clearly here. Next, I pulled out the pin retaining the coupling itself. The bit at the bottom right is all that was left of the original coupling, and above it is the pin that holds it in. I got a new coupling of the correct type out of my spares box. I was lucky enough to pick up a bunch of these from tiny railroads in Delhi, Ontario last year. I also wanted to make replacement glazing. I used the transparent display window from the packaging of a Metcalf card building kit, measuring and marking it up to cut out a piece of the correct size. I don't know whether you can see clearly here, but that's the piece of transparent plastic with a marker line on it where I've got to cut out the piece. Here you can see the repaired bogie back on the coach. I've fitted a replacement coupling and glued the brake in the frame. Actually, I glued the brake in the frame 3 times as it was difficult to get a repair to hold. Not sure what kind of plastic they use for these, but it's not polystyrene apparently, as styrene cement didn't work on it at all. I ended up rather smothering it in cyanoacrylate in hopes that would hold it together, as you can see at the front left here. And here is the side with the replacement glazing fitted. I think it makes pretty much the same effect as the original factory glazing. So here's the repaired coach on the bench with its new coupling and glazing. The new coupling does seem to be sitting a bit high. That's the trouble with these bendy style couplings. They're rather prone to getting stuck pointing in the wrong direction. I think Graham Farish definitely made an improvement when they switched to sprung couplings from this type, though even sprung couplings can get stuck sometimes. There's not much you can do with this bendy style other than trying to twist them and bend them so that they settle level, which is probably how the original one got broken. I first railed these coaches and coupled them up with a Graham Farish Castle class Earl of Dunraven. Unfortunately, this proved rather a dead loss, as even with Bullfrog Snot Liquid traction tyre product on a couple of its driving wheels, the Earl of Dunraven was completely incapable of pulling these 3 coaches up the incline on my layout, getting firmly stuck with its wheels futilely spinning at this point. This is the problem with many Graham Farish locos, I'm afraid. Bluntly put, they're just not much use for pulling trains. In this case, I switched to using the Dapol Hall class Sketty Hall. I have my issues with Dapol locos as well. See my previous video on that subject. The Dapol models don't seem to operate very smoothly with my Kato controllers, but the Dapol tender locos do have traction tyres and are capable of pulling trains quite well. Sketty Hall had no problems at all pulling these three coaches round the layout, including up the steepest incline. Actually, Sketty Hall even seemed to be running a bit more smoothly with this train, and it's certainly a nice looking model. The coaches themselves do make a slightly odd train, as Lima seem to have radically different ideas about the colouring from other manufacturers. Still not too bad looking. Although it would be nicer, I guess, if there wasn't such a marked difference in the colouring. Here's the Lima coach, named Cecilia, patron saint of music, in very creamy and chocolatey livery with a silver roof. This is the repaired coach, which appears to be a vestibule diner. It does seem to have a name board, but doesn't have a name. And here's the third coach, which is a break, I guess, matching in finish to the previous one. Now let's have a look at a bit of running video of these coaches on the layout running behind Sketty Hall. Okay, so here they come down from the woods at the end, coming down past the little airstrip towards the viaduct. And here we go under the viaduct. As you'll see, these rather long coaches barely fit under the viaduct. It's very tricky with that curve going under the viaduct. They almost touch it. And up the hill here. This is the toughest hall on the layout, that turn up the hill to the viaduct. That's where the Earl of Dunraven couldn't get them up. But as you can see, Sketty Hall has no problem. Going across the viaduct the other way, excuse the fact that there's no backdrop at that end, so you just see an aeroplane and a bunch of junk, I'm afraid, at that end. This is looking down across that end from behind the scrap top. That's going down the other way. That slope, if you're running the other way, isn't quite so hard to get up because it's not such a sharp, short turn as the other one. And we come down from that turn and into the back track through the back track of Colville Station under the Metcalfe footbridge there. Past some Metcalfe terraced houses over the level crossing there by Colville. And now we've basically almost completed a circuit of that inner layout past Bilston Holt Station there. And then we're coming back to where we started from. This is basically where we started from, coming down past that section. That section is ballasted. Not all the track is properly ballasted on my layout yet. Back under the viaduct again. I have adjusted that viaduct since I last shot video of trains going under it so that the tracks sit more neatly onto the stone arches. It's a little tricky to do because the architecture of it's weird. Up the steep turn again and over the viaduct. Strictly speaking, it really doesn't, of course, need the girded bridge if it were going over stone viaduct. And you can see the row of three sets of 2 cottages there. I just added an extra cottage to those. Metcalfe card kit cottages. Down past the back of the yard, past the Graham Parish coaling tower and ash plant, and we'll finish up by drawing into Colville Station and stopping the train in Colville Station there.